Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Biology. What's your BSA score? The Biology Skill Assessment is the only verified skills metric endorsed by the NIA and NJCAA to discover and develop the best talent for your team. This 10-minute, 100-shot test can be taken for free today on the Biology mobile app. Elevate your game. How do you break? Because I feel like shot selections, it's one of the things that I focus on the most with my players. Shots, we have a scale, and because we have to speak on the same, we have to all be on the same page with shot selection, or else if I say, hey, only take good shots right now, well, I've got 5 players that believe that their good shot is something different. So we have to talk clearly. How do you discuss shot selection with players without breaking them apart? Because shot selection is personal, building them up, but being honest.
So what I'd like to do, and the same thing approach that I had with Kobe is, look, and again, I know it's different from you guys because you guys still don't have a shot clock, correct?
Sadly, no.
Yeah, sadly, no. Yep. So with Kobe, when I broke down game after game after game before I officially started working for him, I would tell him, look, from 18 to 8 is where we're going to do a lot of your damage. We're going to do a lot of your cleanup. From 7 to 1 or deep in a possession, the player always has to use their gut. And most of those shots are going to be tough to, contested to tough shots because, when you're bearing down on a possession, it tends to be a tougher shot. From 18 to 8, what I wanted Kobe to do is try to take at least 55 to 60% uncontested or marginally contested shots. So if you didn't have a shot clock, there would probably be the first 2 or 3 passes in a possession. If you're going to get a shot, unless a coach is calling a particular play just to get it to the best player and understand they're going to take a tough shot, what I say is, look, you got to hunt uncontested to marginally contested shot. Marginally contested would be, hand is up,
but there's late.
It was late and it was like 2 feet.
Yeah.
But if you're dribbling and backing a guy down, and you're taking a turnaround or a fadeaway jump shot, that's a deeply contested shot that, unless it's like the last second shot or last, one on the shot clock, I don't want to see a lot of those possessions early in a shot clock. Say, look, we're trying to get the 2 philosophies got to be in line. You want to try to take as many uncontested to marginally contested shots as possible in your possessions. And then on the flip side, defensively, you're trying to force your opponent into as many contested shots as possible and hand up no foul and defending without fouling. So to me, with the player, first of all, every player role-wise knows what types of shots they're going to take as far as what regions in the court. That's one. The second thing is, look, I want you to try to take at least half of your shots marginally to uncontested shots. That's what we're trying to accomplish here. Especially if you don't have a shot clock, you can work it in. Now, that doesn't always work because sometimes you face really good defensive teams. But if a player is taking a steady diet of tough contested shots, they're not going to be efficient. And then you could always go back to the numbers. You could always go back to the analytics and say, look, you're shooting 31% from the field. And let's go back to your shots and see if we could gut out some shots that you could stay away from. And I always tell a player, you could always get that shot 10, 12 seconds from now. Why take it with the first pass in the shot? If you want to work it around and get it back and take that shot, I'm okay with it at the end of a possession. But first shot, you're going to back a guy down from the 3-point line and take this tough contested look, or dribble 9, 10 to 12 times and take this tough shot. You could always get that shot. Yeah. But let's try to give it up, space the floor. If you get it back, try to get a better shot than that. And I think you have to judge shot selection. And again, I think if you communicate, Matt, to the players, say, look, this isn't going to be result-based. We're going to talk about a lot of shots that you missed that were great shots. Yeah. And I want to encourage you to do that. But we're going to talk about a lot of made shots that weren't so great. So I think if you could relay the message unbiased and tell the player, look, it's not result-based. We're just going to try to increase your percentages. We're going to increase your efficiency. We're going to have a better chance of winning by doing this, and it increases your value. Look, and you always got to go the selfish way, Matt, in my opinion. Look, there are 9,000 players at your position just in the state of Texas that has that has all these highlight tapes, and the competition so fierce with college coaches in their DMs and their emails trying to get players trying to get scholarships or get spots in their squad. How are you going to separate yourself? Well, if they look at your huddle or they look at your stats, like Johnny shoots 38%, Mikey shoots 56%. I'm going with Mikey. It's that thin. The competition level is that thin where you need to be as efficient as possible, and plus you win more games and you're more valuable that way. So that to me is sort of the way I sort of see shot selection.
I love how you communicate that with players, and I think it's always fun when sometimes when I get to do these talks with coaches, I realize that the way that they do things, man, it's way better than or I'm really falling short in that area with shot selection. I completely align, and I think we have those types of talks at Faith with our players. We use a scale that PGC had and you're familiar with PGC, and because I know you've talked at their clinics before. But what loses games more than anything else? Shot selection. And we ask the players, raise your hand if you've lost a game by 8 or less points, and everybody raised their hands. That's one bad shot a quarter. And it's something that we really can't control. And so we say 5s and 6s, those 50-50 shots or contested jumpers. You take the majority of your game is taking that. You're going to get beat. But I love how clear you are with that. And I think that's really smart.
Yeah, the problem is where we face today that we didn't face as much 15, 20 years ago is every player from 1 to 15 on your roster is studying James Harden, is studying Greek Freak, they're studying, Steph Curry. And those guys make a living in the best of taking tough, bad shots. And not every player, especially role players, are going to be able to do that. Like I do a study when I was at the Mavericks, and then when I talk to any NBA player, there's 510 NBA spots, right? And this goes for high school and college too, but let's break down the NBA. There's 510 NBA spots, it's 450 roster spots, 62 wave spots. So it's 510 players. There's about 105 players that take 10 shots or more. So 80% of the NBA don't get plays called for them. They have to spot up shoot. They have to straight line drive. They have to transition, cut, offensive rebound, come off pin downs. Like they have to live in a sort of a not, I would say, not an infinite amount of shots. They get 3 or 4 or 5. Some get 1, some get 2. So they have to be efficient and do other things to win. The problem is every young player, because everybody trains the same, they work on the same isolation, tough shots that they'll never take in a game. And it's not that you can't do it. That's the thing. Like, I know there's a lot of training companies that make a living on saying, you should never say never. You should never say you can't do something. I understand the logic behind that. But if you just break down the game, and if I'm training Johnny and Johnny says, hey, coach, I want to work on this one-legged fadeaway. I want to work on this. I want to work on that. What I would say is, Johnny, let's go back to the film. Let's go back to the shots you took all year. Why would you okay, so we went through your shots. How many times did you take that shot? Also, let's go to the NBA tape. Go to NBA.com stats. They have a great, I don't know if they still do it, but they have like a video shot chart where you can go through all players' shots, right? Let's go through 5 games of, not necessarily Luka Doncic. Well, let's go through Luka, right? Luka's tough because he takes a lot of tough ones. But let's go look at.
But he's an outlier. Like you can't.
He's an outlier. Let's take Chris Middleton, who's an NBA All-Star, right? From Milwaukee Bucks, and let's go through all his shots. All right, and we'll go through 5 or 6 games, which is probably close to 100 shots. How many times did he take tough, contested, isolation moves? Okay, out of 100, 11. Okay, most of the shots, where they come from? Spot ups. straight line drive, 1-2 dribble pull up, pick and roll reads, transition, cut, offensive rebound. Okay, so a majority of these shots, so if you take out of 100 shots, if you take this 5 times or 4 times this type of shot, why would you in a 350 shot workout take 311 tough contested isolation shots when you have to train your brain to play a certain way? Like, to me, when I work with players with the Mavericks, Matt, first of all, I like the players that weren't ahead of it. You know, I want to work with the guys that needed to go from 11, 12, 13 in the roster to 8, 9, 10 in the roster and above, right? So I have to train them. I can't train them the same way I would train a prize fighter. I have to train them like an underdog. If you watch Rocky, like Clubber Lang, when he was training in Rocky 3, he wasn't in the famous gyms and stuff. He was in some dirt hole in Chicago, like doing like pull-ups against like coat hangers. Like, he was in a rough spot. Rocky, when he trained for Drago, was in Russia and Siberia, like lifting logs. Like, you have to train your players like a prize fighter, and you have to brainwash them a certain way. Look, these are the shots you're going to take. We're going to do a majority of our work is going to be these types of shots because that's what you need to be ready for in a game. If I have you working on 19 dribble move, and a coach has you come in and catch the ball on the perimeter and do that, the coach is going to take you out of the game. And like, you need to be programmed to be like, catch and shoot, straight line drive, make the read, play good D without fouling, and then play with energy. And you're gonna continue to get minutes, and then you'll get more responsibility to maybe be able to scratch the surface on that isolation stuff. Maybe 4 months from now, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now. But let's dominate the small things and get you in a right mind frame of the types of shots you need to be taking. And I think that you'll be a better player for it and help your team win more games, which everybody wins in that scenario.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.